Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another vintage carded review. Okay, where to begin? All right, so recently I've been kind of on this kick to hunt down vintage action figures mint on card. The cards don't have to be completely mint and perfect. They can have some wear and some dings and whatnot. But for the most part, I just wanted, nice, clean figures still in the packaging. I'm not looking to build up this giant collection of mint carded action figures, although I'm kind of already there. I'm just looking to buy back a couple of figures that I was very fond of back in the day, and I just want some carded representation of them. As if they still looked new, straight out of the store. So one thing I was very nostalgic for lately was G.I. Joe Extreme. It's a long forgotten, very tiny blip on the radar time period of G.I. Joe. It was during the mid 90s, back when everything had to be, extreme and cool. They kind of rebranded G.I. Joe as G.I. Joe Extreme, and instead of a real American hero fighting Cobra, they introduced a whole new line of characters, different factions, and this was the end result. It was G.I. Joe Extreme. There was a cartoon to accompany this, and if I remember that time period in my life, I want to say the cartoon, for me anyways, was aired on Sunday mornings. So, as I was feeling very nostalgic for G.I. Joe Extreme, I kind of told myself, all right, I want at least one mint on card G.I. Joe Extreme action figure. And then I was combing around eBay, and I came across this, and I remembered there was a 2-pack, which is the Lieutenant Stone versus Iron Claw, the ultimate battle of good versus evil. So I'm like, okay, I'm down for that. The ultimate battle of good versus evil. You have the two leaders going at it. If I'm going to only have one mint on card G.I. Joe Extreme action figure, it should be this set. So I found this on eBay for an incredible price. We're talking under $20, and it was still on card. And the card's not too bad. It's a little dog-eared in the corners, but for the most part, it's very clean, and the bubble's not scratched up. It looks great. I had this set back in the day, and I display it proudly. I thought it was wonderful. The character sculpting was beautiful. It really captures that time period during the 90s when toy companies kind of won. It was a very reactionary thing because McFarlane Toys were super hot with their Spawn action figures, and that really raised the bar in terms of what fans expected from their action figures and collectibles. McFarlane Toys, they gave us incredible sculpting, incredible detail, great paint application, and I think a lot of the companies like Kenner and Hasbro, in response to that, they gave us figures like these. The collector was much more in mind because even though these figures are articulated, they're kind of pre-posed, so it kind of defeats the purpose of articulation. But the amount of detail and sculpting that went involved in these action figures was just amazing. You saw that across this line, action figure lines like Aliens versus Predator, their Kenner and Hasbro's Gargoyles toy line. It was just a great time to collect toys. And so what we have here is the 2-pack. It looks great. You have Lieutenant Stone on the right, Iron Claw on the left. The back of the box is very telling of this time period also. It's awesome. You have advertising here for the vehicle, the Road Bullet. Great fig photography. This is very 80s and 90s, for the toy companies to display the action figures kind of like in this diorama and have the text overlay above them. So on one side, you have the standard figures, and then on the other sides, they're a little bit more deluxe. Lieutenant Stone versus Iron Claw. Two men stand alone on a distant battlefield in an epic struggle for victory. Lieutenant Stone heroically battles on the side of justice, but Iron Claw counters with the powerful forces of Scar. Can the incredible strength of Lieutenant Stone defeat the cunning mind of Iron Claw? Extreme times call for extreme heroes. And over here, the proof of purchase. And this is something I stated in a previous video. It might have been my gargoyles video. And in that video, I said that, Kenner made G.I. Joe figures. And then I corrected myself. But I was actually right. During this time period when they did G.I. Joe Extreme, G.I. Joe Extreme actually came out under the Kenner banner. But by this time, Hasbro bought out Kenner. So I was actually correct on that. So little tidbit for you. Great action figures. If you've never seen the cartoon G.I. Joe Extreme, it's very different than a Real American Hero. If I had to compare it to anything, it kind of feels a little bit more like that oddball season or two of G.I. Joe. After Sunbow did it, the one where I think it was like featuring like Metalhead and maybe like Destro or something. But there's later seasons of the original Joe cartoon which feel very different than like the first 3 seasons. If you get a chance, check them out. G.I. Joe Extreme, one of the things I love the most about the cartoon was just the intro. Check out the intro. It's pretty cool. So yeah, these are great action figures. I had these back maybe like my freshman year of college, and the toy industry, it was kind of like booming. The collector's market was like hitting an all-time high. Like I said, McFarlane Toys really raised the bar in terms of what fans expected from their toys and their collectibles. And we're lucky because today I actually have these figures on me loose. So we have Iron Klaw over here. And on the opposite end, we have Lieutenant Stone. Now, these are great action figures. Like I said, even though they do feature some articulation, it's very limited. And they feel more like this tiny mini statues. But you can see the detailing on these figures, it's fantastic. The sculpting is great. The proportions of the characters are very exaggerated and heroic. This guy looks more like a superhero than he does like a military officer. I love how his uniform is all this in like ruins. You can tell he's been on the battlefield for a long time. His weaponry, like this gun here, it's very, very like superhero. This looks like something like the Marvel X-Men character like Cable would wield. Yeah, very impressive sculpting, very impressive detailing. The paint application's nice. Let's see if we can get him into focus here. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so this is a product of the 90s. Love this action figure. In terms of his articulation, his head rotates. His arms rotate. Like I said, these figures didn't do a whole lot. They just looked cool. He has waist swivel, and that's pretty much it. This guy was meant to be displayed. He wasn't really meant to be played with. The basic figures in the assortment, though, those were meant to be played with. Their poses were a little bit more neutral, and they had more articulation. But this 2-pack, it felt like it was aimed more so at the older collector who just wanted a cool desk toy. Yeah, so that's Lieutenant Stone. Looks awesome. Great figure. And opposite him, we have... Let me get him out. We have Iron Klaw. So, when I say that this figure, or at least, during this time period, other companies, a lot of the stuff they did was very reactionary to like what McFarlane was doing. And I think this figure really, really embodies that. For one, this cape feels like something that you'd find on like a Spawn action figure. Spawn always had the really long flowing capes that was just tattered and beat up, and this totally just like lifts on that. It's this giant long flowing cape. It's made of this harder plastic, so it's not flexible. There's tons of detail sculpted into it. It's beat to hell. And it just looks awesome on this character. And if you look at Iron Claw's face, it's like a skull and almost resembles that Boba Fett skull on his body armor. Now, nothing says badass more than this guy. He has a crazy skull face with giant tusks, and he's wearing a beret. And he's even more badass. He has chains wrapped around one forearm. He doesn't cut his fingernails, so they're super sharp. He carries around this like pirate sword or scimitar. Really well done figure, especially for the 90s. This is sculpted beautifully. Love this set. It's awesome. Yeah, so if I had to have any two figures from G.I. Joe Extreme mint on card, it was this set. You know, I was very lucky to find this in decent shape for a super affordable price. You know, we're talking under 20 bucks. So now these figures might not mean a lot to a lot of people, but for me, you know, growing up during this time period, watching the cartoon, reading the comic books. The comic books, I believe, were put out by Dark Horse Comics, and some of them featured comic book covers by artist Frank Miller. Yeah, so for me, you know, I grew up during this time period. I'm very fond of this era of toys and collectibles. You know, for me, it was just awesome. Lots of fond memories of just hunting for toys, and you know, I still remember like finding these at Toys R Us and walking down the aisle where these were located. So yeah, great 2-pack, awesome set. All right, so let's wrap this video up. Once again, my name is Lou. If you are new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning subscriber viewer, thank you so much for your continued likes, comments, and support. I greatly appreciate it. So, until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I will talk to you later.